And Draven ban, as per usual. Fizz busts it out early on to a split. Then for the rest of time, it's taken away from him, and no one ever lets him play the pick again.
But it's a tough situation. I was debating with myself, do you ban Draven against Fizz every time? Because you don't actually know if you want to play it one more time. It could be just specifically against Fnatic. They prepared this with the compositions. That's why they wanted to play it. Now G2 plays it safe, but I do think if you are G2 and you really are confident in your own ability, just removing comfort picks and certain picks you maybe don't play against too often is actually very smart.
Yeah.
Because then, let's just say H2K has a new crazy pick ready. Maybe G2 then swaps the Draven ban for that one in the next game. So I think it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, and then he brings out the Draven as soon as.
And then he gets the Draven.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, interesting. So we had the final ban of Trundle, and the Braum was also taken away from Mithy. First pick actually came out of the Caitlyn, so really high priority on this pick, but I can understand why. Caitlyn has been so strong in recent weeks in terms of like the playstyle and has been like the crux of many compositions, so it really kind of shows what H2K are going for.
We talked about this Karma in the last series though, Pauls, about how after it's been used so much over in Korea, it's a fantastic pick. Flex pick, of course, go to 2 lanes, mid and support. It was banned in both those games, and I'm not surprised to see G2 early pick it here because it is such a power pick in the current meta. It literally gives you a lane that can win against almost anything. And you have so much pressure and roaming potential as well because you are so mobile. I really like the pick. I think it's strong, and I think it's fantastic on a guy like PerkZ, who can really win his lane and is very aggressive in the way he likes to play. If they do put it in the mid lane, obviously it could just be straight to support.
I mean, this composition is already shaping up to be very fast and very fun.
Oh, yes.
Got the Karma and Nidalee starting off, so you can be very aggressive with those picks.
And that's why if you're H2K now, you basically see what this G2 is trying to do. Okay, strong laning phase, early aggression from your jungler who can invade in. So H2K cannot pick weak lanes. They have to pick lanes that can try and match what G2 is doing to stop this Nidalee from just running all over them.
Yeah.
If they go full late game, say, no, we don't care about anything early game, you have one of these games where it's G2 making mistakes that allows H2K to hit the late game and therefore win the game, and not because H2K played it extremely well. So I like what they're doing because this is the flex pick Gragas who can go top lane. We know how strong he is in the laning phase.
Yeah.
And the Bard Caitlyn is a fantastic 2v2. If you're a good Bard player, he's up there with like Zyra, Nami, Karma as like a strong laning support. If you are not the greatest Bard player, have a bad day, however, he can be super useless. So a lot of focus on Vander here.
True, but I feel like if you're going to pick Bard in competitive, you're fairly confident that you're a good Bard player and you can make it work. And we have seen some really strong Bards, absurd amount of damage in the early game, almost always taking Thunderlords. So that has been locked in. And G2 are going to pick up the Fizz now coming out, so could flex into the top lane or the mid lane. Or even jungle, we've seen that a couple times. Karma could flex into support mid lane, and then we've got the Sivir picked up for G2 as well.
I love it though. I mean, both teams are looking at the same thing. G2 again, picking strong early lanes with the top lane pick from Fizz, while Sivir is not the strongest laner, she can push. When you have Nidalee, it's all about pushing, so the enemy is forced to sit on the tower and defend, while your Nidalee is running wild in your jungle and you're under pressure. I also think Sivir is obviously a great AD carry when it comes to the mid to late game, ability, yada yada yada. We've talked about it for 2 years almost.
Yeah, that's very true.
G2 though, with this 2v2 setup, unless they like lock in a Nami as the support pick, one thing G2 loves to do is last pick support and see, okay, what exactly do we need here against H2K's comp. But if they take like a Nami, they might try and opt into the 2v2 lane if they can outplay Vander and Fizz. Otherwise, you just lane swap with this one and say, you know what, don't want to deal with this Kate into Sivir match.
Could be very difficult to lane against in, of course, standard lanes. But there is all the option for Australia lanes. We've got the Elise pickup with the Viktor.
Is that a early game jungler?
Whoa.
Whoa.
It's almost like they're trying to match G2.
It's almost like they're saying, G2, we don't want you to just snowball and run away with the game. So yeah, both teams picking up, well, especially on the H2K side, very strong lanes. Gragas top, great early laner. Bard Caitlyn, fantastic 2v2. Viktor, overall extremely safe in the mid lane. Question is it going to be Karma support, Irelia top, Fizz mid, which it would be if they lock in this one, or do they just put the Karma mid? No, they do lock it in. So again, flex picking is so powerful because you never really know who's going where. Does give G2 a weak mid lane, at least before 1 or 2 backs, but it does give them fantastic kill pressure in these skirmishes after level 6.
Yeah. Glad to see Irelia coming back. This is actually the first game of Irelia I've cast despite Irelia being picked up so much. Yeah, I know. It's always been on the other stream, just like Alawi. I've been like, I just want to cast it. But yeah, first time for me. But great to see so many Irelias being picked up recently. Great carry top laner, buffs to Triforce, of course, or changes to Triforce have benefited Irelia a lot.
Yeah, definitely a pick we can talk more about in-game as well. Overall compositions, G2 went away from having the super strong early mid laner, instead went for scaling and kill pressure. One thing we know, the G2 lineup likes to play around the individual skill.
Yeah.
Like we know that PerkZ on an assassin can win the game forward, so therefore we can trust in him to play this Fizz.
Well, you've seen the comps, ladies and gentlemen. You know the squads, and now it's time for H2K and G2 to fight for first place in our match of the week.
So I would say they're the best bot lane now in Europe for sure, and I hope we'll catch up.
Overall, H2K is going to be a stronger team in the long run.
I don't know if they are stronger now, but in the longer run, I'm sure G2 will be stronger, and so will.
And we are on to Summoner's Rift between H2K and G2. First game of this best of two here in the studio. And hopefully this game is at least something like the last one, because man, that was a crazy game. Both of these two teams right at the top of the table fighting over that first place.
Yeah, I mean, I liked some of the parts of the last game. It was crazy for sure.
Not the pause.
Definitely not the pause, but also the risky calls, right? The last game had a lot of weird moments, not really that high level. We want to see the high level part and the exciting part mixed together in this match of the week here. G2, H2K, both teams fighting for first place. And it would be fantastic for an H2K team that got criticized after week 1 and not having the greatest performance to then walk in here, have a great week 2, start week 3 by beating G2 and then taking that first place.
And a lot of that was on the man you can see right there on Caitlyn. Freeze was absolutely going.
Caitlyn is not a man.
No, but Freeze is.
That's true.
Caitlyn is definitely not a man. I can figure that one out. Sometimes it's harder with, like, you know, Rek'Sai, of course, a female, and Kindred, which is a they. But yeah, Freeze went off last week on Draven and Ashe when they were playing the Ashe Zyra lane. So this time going towards the Caitlyn. It was actually first picked by H2K. So really setting up the composition from there.
And it makes sense, right? Draven was banned away. The most picked AD carry for both of the guys will be the Caitlyn.
Sure.
Ashe would have been another option. But we know how much value both teams put on having these strong early lanes. That's why also the Nidalee pick comes in for Trick. To use the strong lanes to take over the game. And yeah, as you talked about with this Irelia top, I mean, the reason she's back, right? Trinity Force buffs were fantastic. Nerfs to other tanks up in the top lane. Rift Herald got changed. Is now more of a split pushing buff. So there's a lot of things really benefiting her. She has a lot of skill matchups. That's what I like about Irelia right now. If you're really good on her, you can pick her into a lot of different matchups and do well. But you can also get punished. Mithy is not getting punished here. He's instead slapping Odoamne on the butt, and then he walks away.
Yeah, I don't know if Karma really slaps people. It kind of throws bolts of like energy at people.
A different kind of slap.
Different kind of slap, I see. Still towards the butt. Takes a tower shot.
Tower slap as well.
Yeah, tower slap as he walks away. Mid lane, just kind of trading off right now. Of course, usually range matchups do better. Why does Mithy slap? That is a very, very good question as we get into the laning phase here. And PerkZ is going to put a bit of aggression down, gets the Fun Lord's proc as well. But of course, range matchups, not great for Fizz.
No, this is a risky one. So Fizz in their mid lane. Weak early game. Needs level 6. Definitely one or two good backs as well, where he has teleport to get back to lane to try and keep up in farm. And then he needs a jungler around him if he wants to play aggressive. Because the way Fizz can do well in lane, if he can all in, if he can put pressure and say, if you walk too close to me, I will use my ulti and I will force you out of lane or you can kill you. But you need your jungler around you, or you need pink wards around you. So that's why the Elise pick is really smart from H2K, to kind of challenge that in the early game, can challenge the Nidalee a bit in the early game in that sense, and actually camp the mid lane if needed. Yeah. Making it much harder for PerkZ to have an easy early game. And therefore, it's just going to be a lane where we will push in, PerkZ will try and maximize his farm, then TP back to lane. He shouldn't lose too many CS, he just might never get like a 1v1 all in.
Sure. By the way, lane swap. So both teams going to take that initial tower. And
I mean, it's an H2K game.
It's an H2K game, of course, but we won't see those 2v2 lanes. So we're not going to see Zven and Mithy try and hold their own against Fizz and Vander. For now, maybe they'll go Australia lanes in a bit. But we do have Expect now. Interesting to see how much he can do now. We saw good mechanics from him in that one game he did play.
Yes, definitely.
Because
I mean, that's why they picked him up, right?
yeah.
Really good
Didn't just take him
individual.
off the streets and was just like, get on stage and
We don't know
play
you.
Irelia.
Doesn't matter. Sign that guy.
Yeah.
He's called Expect. I mean, come on.
I mean,
It's a cool name.
it is. Well, lots of Koreans do that though. They go with the one-word name, like Pulse, not Deficio.
I mean, I don't know if Pulse is that impactful of a name. It could be
No.
called like Guilfoyle. That would be a sick name.
What?
Guilfoyle.
Okay. I don't know. That's a bit of a debate, but
Alright.
I hope to see someone polls that on Twitter and prove me right. But yeah, PerkZ in this mid lane. PerkZ is a cool name.
Pulse is super cool if you're like 12.
It is, and that's why I
that's a
named
nice
my.
name.
Yeah, it was good when I was 12, and then it got stuck with me,
Nice.
and then I could never show it. Well, H2K gonna push up the top lane here.
They will push top lane.
They will. I mean, these are
everything.
lane swaps, so there's gonna take tower on top, take tower on bot.
But we have the situation where Infernal Drake is the first one,
Yeah.
so it's actually really good for G2 to swap. Not only do they dodge around the 2v2 lane, that can be annoying. Also, Irelia wants to get a few components towards 24th before she really starts being impactful. And now you can technically, if you are G2, depending on how fast you're taking down this tower, just up straight into taking Infernal Drake. Like you take tower, move into Infernal Drake, H3 cannot respond in time because you just saw them recall. You know the rough timings of when they will return to lane, but they're a little bit too slow on the side of G2, taking down his tower. So no Infernal Drake for them. Instead, we will probably see standard lanes now. G2 will just return down to the bottom lane and then try and contest for the Drake and don't give it over for free.
Well, we have a completely even game right now, and G2, kind of what we were talking about in Champion Select, want to try and leverage their super strong lanes and try and get ahead. And we'll see if they can actually make that happen.
I think the first two picks with the Karma and Nidalee set up for the strong lanes. But when they saw the response from H2K were equally strong lanes, they moved away from it and added in more scaling.
Yeah.
First of all with the Irelia and there, and second of all with the Fizz mid lane as well. And actually went away from, okay, we need to win lane to win game. So I think that adaptation was smart, and that's why flex picking is so good.
Yeah.
We do see G2 send the bottom lane down. It's what we talked about before. You don't want to give away a free Infernal Drake because you're already also behind in the lane swap tempo. You don't really gain any advantage then. So we get the 2v2. As long as Expect can get to push out his lane and don't fall too far behind in CS and experience, it's fine. That's why Trick is on top side, kind of helping him, being there, making sure that in a 2v2, if it happens, he's ready to help. Because otherwise it's an easy gank for someone like Jankos to show up, oh, you're going to overextend to level 3 or 4. Easy first blood, right? Instead, though, we get no outer turrets in side lanes, but standard lanes.
Yeah, really like the fact that H2K did respond with these stronger early picks. It means Jankos is on like an Elise, something who does something early game, and Jankos is still the first blood king, even though sometimes he gives up first blood, but he's still involved in that first blood in some way.
It's a weird title.
It is.
Have. Hey, you give away the most, but you also take the most.
Well, we'll see this time. Hopefully he picks up the first blood himself. That would be preferable. Going for the early lucidity boost though. So.
Oh, I like it. I think CDR is the best you can get on Elise. Let's see what happens here though, because early Infernal by H2K, but obviously with G2 being on bottom side, they're ready to contest it. And therefore everyone just backs away. No TP from Odoamne, that's why H2K could not stay. They were trying to sneak it, hoping because Fizz and Vander had the control on bottom side. TP though from Expect.
Fizz is going to net away. Flash after Boomerang Blade does not connect, but here comes Expect, and he gets Cosmic Binded. There is Spear coming in, but does not land, so good defensive play. Only a Flash Burn coming in from Fizz, and that was also exchanged for Mithy's.
Yeah, so basically now G2 is forced to go Infernal Drake to gain something from the teleport, otherwise H2K will take it once Odoamne has his TP ready. Didn't get any kills, wanted to go for the jackpot. Have to settle just for a much smaller price than getting some early kills, because Infernal Drake at 8 minutes is not that impactful.
Great later though.
Great later, that's the key thing, right? But early on you technically want more kills to get more gold, but you take it now if you're G2, you used your TP on it, does put Expect a little bit behind for now, but the wave is pushing down towards him. If you look at your top side here, obviously Odoamne is going to just hand over this massive wave.
Yeah.
And Expect can just catch up. So I actually like the play. I like when teams are very proactive, when they have a TP advantage, even in the early game, because H2K had that pushing bot side, but execution wasn't quite there, and Bart's power, when you have these walls to jump over with Magical Journey, showed it. showed itself.
Yeah, but it's still not too bad for G2 because, as you mentioned yourself, they have more scaling on their side now, so they're going to be able to use the Fizz and the Irelia when they get later into the game, and they'll be more than happy having an Infernal Dragon.
Definitely.
Ryu now pushing in the mid lane with Freeze, and the annoyance has begun as Caitlyn starts putting down traps, and PerkZ finds it harder and harder to back away. Now he's caught, but he actually just managed to sneak around that trap. Fizz is very small, and the Spider will land onto Mithy instead.
And this is a really good thing for H2K, because they had the pressure on bottom side and got to push the wave all the way to the tier 2 tower. Well, then you just move your AD carry early to mid, and Fizz doesn't have reliable wave clear when you're sieging the tower. And technically, D2 wants the Fizz then in side lanes and the Sivir in mid for wave clear, but it's way too early in the game for them to have swapped it until now they finally get a break. So I like this swap now from D2. They couldn't really do it before, and that's why H2K got some free tower on this mid. Free tower, they got some free damage on this mid tower. And again, I love watching these very small movements and just like, it's all built around who pushes the lanes, technically, and who has the pressure in lanes. It's all that matters when it comes to rotating. You can never rotate first if you're constantly getting pushed back towards your own tower. Because like, you need to stay and catch the wave. You don't want to give up free tower. Exactly. You don't want to lose experience and farm. You have to stay, and then the ulti moves first, and that's what H2K did after having that bot lane push.
Falling further and further behind. So now Vander and Freeze, they're just farming up. So what are we looking in terms of how the lanes have gone so far? Slight advantage to Ryu, and slight advantage to Zven, so nothing massive to write home about just yet.
No, and now when you play this H2K comp, H2K plays a 1-4 composition where the Gragas is the one sitting in the side lane because he has teleport, not because he's a split pusher. The problem with your group of 4 is that you gotta assign them to the 2 other lanes, but they actually both want to sit in mid. No one really want to go to the side lane. Mithy has to be careful here. PerkZ going all in as well.
He's trying to get the tether down onto Vander. Freeze did get hit by from the waters, but
too
disengage.
Aggressive on some of these early TPs. Odoamne here could definitely have waited. Freeze had heal as well. And PerkZ never really got to overcommit. He's actually just forcing a teleport and then he backs away. Yeah. But as I said before, Caitlyn is not very good in the side lane once the laning phase is over, because she's very easy to kill. And she constantly needs support to sit right next to her. Being like, you can never leave, because if you leave, this Fizz will kill me, this Nidalee will come down and kill me, this Irelia will come down and kill me. I need you here. That locks the support in place. Yeah. So you want to put Caitlyn mid, but you don't really want to move the Viktor to side lane either. So it's very important for H2K that their group of 3, which is their group with their AD carry support, so the group of 2 with the AD carry support, can push out the lane against the Fizz, and then move to the mid lane, so they join. So they're only separated for like a minute, then they have pushed 2 lanes, and then they join together with Caitlyn and Viktor, so they never have to sit for a longer time alone in a side lane. And that's why the support, you can see Vander on your minimap, is sitting right next to Freeze. Yeah. He wants to roam, he wants to put wards down with side stuff, but he can't.
Wouldn't it be harder and harder for H2K though, as like the game goes on? Because Expect has TP, PerkZ also has TP, and they're both playing great duelist champions, so it's very likely we'll see like the 1-3-1, right, coming in from G2.
100%.
So it'll be hard for H2K to really deal with that.
G2 is a perfect 1-3-1 composition with a wave clearing AD carry, sitting very early in the mid lane. Can even go static shift if you want on Sivir just to get even more wave clear. But it will be difficult for H2K, and that's why, you know, there comes some different things to do well. Like H2K will be much better in like a grouped up team fight. Yeah. When you have the Caitlyn, when you have the Viktor, and we have a full tank Gragas. But G2, if they have the pressure on the map with the 1-3-1 and they get flanks, it's not a 5-on-5 then. It's like one guy fighting over here, one guy fighting over there, and it becomes like skirmish instead, even though it's 10 members. Yeah. And then G2's comp will do much better. So it's very clear strong points and weak points for both teams. H2K is all about being able to push out this lane with Freeze and Vander, even if they need to call in Jankos to be around them to make a 3-man group, and then rotate in towards the mid lane with Ryu, or rotate in for Dragons / Barons later.
Let's see if that plays out. We're now 13 minutes into this game, and neither team has really interacted with each other just yet. I mean, we've had a lane swap, so probably why. Freeze is going to line up the shot onto PerkZ, and is going to be fine taking that damage. PerkZ also went for the early Negatron just so he could avoid some of the damage from Ryu. Meanwhile, Mithy will go into the bot lane as well. Lots of Visioners come down the river, but you can see no real advantage. Next round's also going to be Infernal, so the teams might decide to try and do something on that one. Tempered Fate onto Mithy.
He's window shopping.
Jankos and Odoamne coming in. Going to burn the flash, and he also ease away, so he's going to be safe for now. But still burns the flash. But Jankos also flash as well, so yeah, that was an ultimate and flash for that.
In the end, honestly worth it for Mithy, because he's not going to be in the front line anyway on this Karma. He's sitting back with his team. providing the utility. But again, it's very important for H2K. They can always contest these dragons because their comp wants to fight as a team. And if they ever get to the point where they just push back on every lane, then G2 will win straight away. Because if you have multiple losing lanes, there's nothing you can do in the map. So you need to always time it with dragons, pushing out your lane, move in to set up the dragon, and have a 5-on-5 team fight. If you lose that fight, well, then you lose the game because your comp lost at what it was supposed to be the best at. And then you're just getting outplayed, obviously.
Let's see if that... Because it looks like the teams are going to try and contest this. Both teams are contesting Vision currently. And the dragon is now live.
And you can see how now H2K got the bot lane pushing at first. PerkZ is still sitting there now pushing it back, but this allowed H2K to now group. So now they're strong, now they're fine.
Yeah.
Now they get to get a bit of damage on tower. The reason Zven can't just walk up and clear the wave is because he has to respect multiple sorts of engages. Obviously as an AD carry. So you force him away from the minion wave. If a Sivir can always meet the wave in the middle, she just kills it instantly, you can never siege tower. If you force it back to tower, you get a bit of damage every time. You get priority in moving into river, which is the key thing for H2K. But it took them quite some time.
Oh, expect going in there.
That was a
barrel from
rough
Odoamne.
ulti.
Yeah.
Not a good ulti from Odoamne, and you can see
Not two people away.
PerkZ on bottom side now is pushing in, so it basically took way too long for H2K to set this up, and therefore they have to surrender the Infernal Drake. This is really bad for H2K. You're in a situation now where when you made a few moves after you pushed out a wave, you didn't first of all push it far enough, and you didn't even get the tower. Yes, it's low, but it's not dead yet. 2 Infernal Drakes for G2 with the composition. There's a Fizz in the late game. H2K though has great scaling on their side. It's not like G2 is going to like automatically win the late game.
Yeah.
It's about winning the side lanes now for G2.
But G2 didn't really give up that much for those 2 dragons either. Like, they're ahead in gold, they're equal on towers, and now they just have 2 Infernals over H2K. It's not like the last series where we saw where Schalke got the 2 dragons but were behind in gold and giving up stuff for it. So G2 in a pretty good position so far in this game. Only 15 minutes in, next one's going to be Mountain. So actually lots of really good drakes today. I think we've seen 1 cloud. So, so yeah, the skies are not cloudy. We have good forecasts. And Mithy just kind of wandering around mid right now. Got lots of wave clearing going on. You can see just the disparity still opening up exactly the same as it was before. Top lane is equal, Freeze behind against Zven, Rio ahead against PerkZ.
But this AD carry CS doesn't really matter too much in that case because they're both playing in different lanes at the moment. It obviously matters a lot because it sucks for the Caitlyn to be behind. Like, this is why some teams don't like Caitlyn that much anymore. Because she doesn't have a place with a control mage like Viktor.
Oh, lots of damage coming in from Trick, but lots of return damage in from Ryu. And respect the ultimate, and Trick will jump away.
And just as to go back to the point from before here, where she doesn't have a place to be on the map with the Viktor. Because he's sitting mid, and she has to go silent all the time. It's not great for Freeze. Ryu!
Oh, almost walked into it. And meanwhile, Jankos is going to try and punish Mithy. He's dropping very low. We'll get the snare down. Meanwhile, there's the explosive cast onto Mithy, but there's no bleed. He will get away with his life for now. I think it's going to be the disengage. Good laser out from Ryu from very long range, so clears out the minion wave.
But because Ryu took so much damage and Trick just healed himself back to full HP, then H2K had no mid laner. Couldn't contest any sort of fight. Rest of G2, with their 2 Infernal Drakes, can just return to the side lanes. We know H2K wants to group on this mid tower. That's why Expect is staying around. It's like, okay, we got TP on PerkZ. We might get a TP flank here and stop H2K from killing our tower. And also this wave on top is pushing away from him, so a bit of a rough spot for just a few more seconds. It's small things, again, like, okay, freezes down in CS, sucks for the Caitlyn, definitely. But he's not even been laning against the Sivir.
Yeah.
She's just been sitting mid, and this is a product of your composition. Crowd went nuts.
Over something. Ooh, big spear onto Vander. Lots of just poking, kind of trench warfare once again. This is kind of going back to traditional H2K games. Lots of game time, a lot of kills, a lot of objectives being contested more than anything. Poking in, chipping away, and then coming in with the win eventually after those rotations. Whereas G2 is slowly clearing out the traps.
But it's so rough for them.
Yeah.
Because they have to just give PerkZ a free lane. Because no one wants to commit to pushing it out. H2K would have to use Jankos, Freeze, and Vander together. All 3 men pushing up. That's actually what they're doing now. Push up this lane, all the way up to the tier 2 tower, and then rotate mid and take the mid tower. That's the play for H2K. But it's very predictable for G2, so you can see on your minimap, Mithy is already here. It's like, yeah, I know you're going to make a play on bottom side, so I'm already here hovering around, making it suddenly very risky for you guys to push it up. No Drake alive yet. It's all about getting that mid tower for H2K. And killing the Rift Scuttler.
Took it out. Destroyed.
So we see the push. Jankos on bottom side. It's exactly what we talk about. Freeze and Vander together. They need to push one more wave up if they want to rotate to mid and take the tower. But all of G2 is around. Even Expect is here. Because they know the only play H2K can make is push bot, take mid tower.
And yeah, it's just so predictable because PerkZ, he didn't even have that much vision in the enemy jungle, but it was just like, oh, 3 people off the map, the 3 people who are probably going to deal with me, I guess I'll just walk back. And then immediately H2K, there's nothing for them to do anymore. So now the Dragon being up in 2 minutes, yes, they can fight over vision, but they're still going to need to do it later on over the next 2 minutes anyway. Baron's going to be spawning soon, but no team's really in a position to rush it down.
They just have to go for this mid tower now if you're H2K.
Yeah, they're going to try.
It's
I mean,
so
the mid
low.
tower is
There
very
we
low,
go.
so instantly take it away. There's an ultimate coming in onto Zven. He's going to force the flash, and will spell shield the ace in the hole. We'll bring back the storm as well. Trick is going to try and follow after. Land a spear maybe on the retreating members of H2K and just get the Luden's proc as well. But this is very much a slow early game. 20 minutes have gone by, still no kills. Who does this benefit more in the long run?
I mean, again, if we get team fights in the late game, you have Viktor scaling, you have Caitlyn scaling, you have Gragas, who's just a full tank in the late game. So H2K definitely has a great late game team fight. But on the side of G2, we knew they had some of the lanes that wanted a little bit more time before they wanted to do anything. So for them, it was great they didn't fall behind in the early game. And then you just have 2 completely different compositions. Like one is a split pushing comp where no one can stop Fizz in the side lane, so that greatly benefits G2. If they keep playing this game, H2K can't stop them. If they play a game where they have to rush in and like try and stop Barons or Sieges, then suddenly H2K's comp can be strong. It's all about the execution of flanking from G2, honestly. But so far, with this even early game, the fact that 2 Infernals on the side of G2, they've definitely been winning out, and Fizz is just free farming. Yes, he's behind now, but no one is stopping him in this lane, and no one can stop him.
Yeah.
No one can stop him.
No one can really go down there unless you commit 3 people, but we've already seen what happens in that scenario.
Yeah, the rest of G2 just walks down with them.
Exactly.
You can bring out top laner.
Yep. It doesn't really matter. But H2K, they're trying to leverage the Caitlyn, but the middle tower's already gone, so there's nothing really to push there anymore. In fact, all of the outer turrets have gone down, so H2K don't really have anything to go for. The Dragon is now up, so now they start looking to contest this vision.
And Freeze is only level 10 to level 12 of Zven, because right now he's only catching waves, and then he's also sharing experience with Ryu in mid, because this Caitlyn has nowhere to go. No one wants to be the man sitting inside me. No one is committing to it.
Because PerkZ is now pushing up the top
Exactly.
lane.
This Cait is super weak right now. She's in a weakest state. In the mid game, got 0 advantage. G2 wants to fight here for sure.
Yeah, they have the TPs available on both of their split pushes, but PerkZ is still pushing away. So as long as H2K don't immediately take down this Dragon, he will take that top tower. Look how fast he's dropping though.
Actually, no, G2's going to take straight the tower.
It's just going to be, tower for Dragon, and no one can stop him in time. So, yes, that's the Mountain Dragon over to H2K, but now PerkZ, actually, does he have enough time? Because, maybe. He'll get some damage on this tower at least. Meanwhile, the rest of his team is pushing in the mid lane. Here's the TP coming out, actually. There's the Tempered Fate, stun onto 2 players, and the combo in from Ryu. They will drop Trick where he stands. And Expect will start running away, but he's chased down by the ace in the hole. Meanwhile, Jankos is trying to find Mithy, but won't get him. 2-0 kills over to H2K.
I really would have preferred G2 to try and contest around the Dragon when they had options to set up flanks as well.
Whoa.
Straight to Baron with 1 Mountain Drake on the side of H2K. 15 seconds for Trick, 18 for Expect with his teleport. Baron is going down.
It really is. I mean, Zven is trying to put some damage over the wall. There's Chum the Waters onto Ryu. Big damage coming in from PerkZ. He's going to have to jump away. Playful Trickster. H2K back onto the Baron. It's very low, and it is going to get dropped by Jankos. Meanwhile, Mithy actually just walked in and straight up died. Lots of members low from H2K. Walked on top of a trap. Those are for Yordles.
Very, very quickly, we get some action. But it's a G2 team kind of not deciding on what they wanted to do, hovering around Dragon first. Being like, oh, this Caitlyn is level 10, like surely you can set up a fight here where your AD carry is already on 2 completed items, but then suddenly they don't feel like that proper positioning, and they change the call to say, okay, let's trade for towers. But this is a great ulti from Vander, setting this one up perfectly. Straight into tons of CC and damage from H2K. Odoamne does a no-no on the Gragas where he hits first before he throws his ulti after the body slam, but in the end, they still get the kill and Expect, and straight to Baron. Like this H2K, 5-man together, great.
Yep.
But around that Dragon, that could have been difficult for H2K to get a complete 5-on-5 because they would have been split to multiple sides. There were 2 ways for G2 to flank. So instead of fighting out in the open, around that objective with multiple entrances, it actually became like G2 trying to group on a tower, and that gave H2K a perfect opportunity. Good ulti by Vander, great setup, few kills, Very impactful play though.
Yeah. It's really about these big landmarks that happen in games like this, where one team makes that mistake and then big capitalization by the other team really swings the game in their favor. And you can do that right now. The Baron power play will be pretty big, I have to feel, from H2K. Already taking that one tower up to 2,300, plus the Baron gold. Good Soul Flare will clear out the minion wave alongside Zven. So that is something that G2 have, is a lot of wave clear. But H2K now pushing on 2 lanes, should easily be able to take down his inner turret as well.
Yeah, the wave clear is the Sivir. She's back in base at this point. So another tower for H2K. The 1-3-1 obviously falls apart when you lose a Baron and you can no longer push your side lanes. G2 just not committing, honestly, and not having the right call. Not sure if they were surprised about the engage from Vander on there, on the tower, and therefore gets punished for it. Because like you can see the idea behind it. Oh, we're pushing top, we're pushing mid, we get mid tower, then we rotate top, we take the top tower. Yeah, you get your Mountain Drake, we don't care, we get 2 towers for it. So I understand the call. Because of Vander though, it completely backfired.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to pay attention to the tools that H2K have, right? But it's difficult when, obviously, Vander was playing in fog at that point. So H2K pushing up the mid lane. Soul Flare will do a little bit of damage to Ryu. The continuous poke from Freeze is just difficult to play against for G2. I mean...
And the traps, you can't really get close enough. And because you have no pressure now in the side lanes, you can't really set up an easy flank. You have no wards right behind H2K, or you can't move from your lanes through the river and be like, oh, surprise, we're here. You're kind of just standing in front of them.
Yep.
It's a perfect little time here. Perfect few minutes for H2K.
So what do G2 need to do now? They need to regain control of their jungle, get those wards down, look for flank wards, and try and pincer H2K as they push up, or do they need to just split push with PerkZ?
Well, when you're G2, you want to go back to your 1-3-1.
Yeah.
100%. You need the Baron buff to expire. Obviously, H2K would just recall and kind of reset the map, so that's why you see PerkZ instantly trying to push out his lane. He needs to run away now, though. Should know the rest of H2K is coming. He's actually staying for now.
Well, now he sees Vander and Jankos and will immediately jump away. That's the flash burn. Temper Fake comes in. Urchin Strike will be caught during the animation, and from here on out, it's not looking very good for PerkZ. Ooh, a lot of damage onto Vander and Jankos, but is not going to pick up the kill.
Shot calling for G2 is not the same this week. PerkZ had the right idea of like, I need to go push out this wave to try and stop H2K from just grouping one more time because I need to have pressure in the side lane.
Yeah.
But he stayed for way too long, all alone, ends up going down. Another push for H2K. Everything is just going wrong for G2, and it seems like no one really had a clear call right here as well, with PerkZ overstaying and dying. It was very hard for us to comment on the shot calling in game. But when you see something like that, you're kind of like, well, that's a mistake we don't see often.
Yeah. Maybe it's even a product of what we were talking about pre-champion select, where expect now, not kickers. So G2 maybe having to feed more information to him now, and expect needs to tell him what to do, and expect doesn't just do his own thing like kickers knew exactly what to do. So integration time into the team perhaps, because we've had very much a macro-orientated game. It's all been about the rotations, objectives, playing around the map, and maybe that really has hurt G2 in this game. H2K, they've just played an H2K game. They've played out slow, methodical, taken away the objectives when they needed to. Probably in contrast to what we saw last week, though. I think a lot of that was leveraged from Fizz, though, just going ham on whatever AD carry is picking up on the day. Now, first picking the Caitlyn, the intent, I feel, was clear from the first pick.
Yeah, and definitely saved Fizz a lot to get 2 kills and 2 assists in that last fight. Because he, well, 2 and 1 assist because he got the kill, or the last one on PerkZ in the end, but really saved him because he was so far down in terms of gold, but also levels. He's still down in levels. Like, Zven is level 14 to level 12 on a Caitlyn. That's why G2 are finally saying, you know what, guys, we're actually strong enough to fight. Can they set up any flank? We will get a fight, by the way. Yeah,
because G2 have already started the dragon. Jankos comes in. That will be secured by Trick. Meanwhile, Mithy is dropping so low. He'll be taken out 2-0. And PerkZ is unable to get inside that fight. Expect has also been called out. Groundfield comes down. He's going to put some damage back on towards Fizz, but it's really nothing. 3-0 plus the dragon.
And we talked about this, Pulse, how we want to see an H2K team with much better shot calling than G2 because they didn't have to make any changes. Yeah. And what we're seeing here is a G2 lineup technically at that point doing the right thing, trying to all in for that dragon and then take a fight. but H2K just outplayed them completely.
Wow, 28 minutes into this game, and even though the Dragon was secured by G2, they just lost so many members. PerkZ going to jump in again, instantly blown up, Playful Trickster away. Mithy is trying to keep him alive, but he'll go back to the fountain as well. That's the first Nexus turret going down.
No minions except for that one little guy who's gonna get killed by the tower, meaning H2K needs to run away. Spider-Lace decides to soak up all the crits.
Yeah, and now H2K will back away, but they dealt so much damage to G2's base in that. And everyone will turn into a penguin and take the magical journey out, but Expect is behind them looking for a flank. Transcendent Blades is going to keep poking them down. He's getting a lot of value out of this ultimate. Trick following after. They got Zven and Mithy speed boost. Fantastic ultimate by Odoamne to open up the fight. Expect comes in, gets the shut down onto Caitlyn. Odoamne backing away, but the Critters J is doing work. Vander should be able to get out of here, but Odoamne not going to be so lucky. Expect finds a Blade Surge. And Mithy will try and finalize the final
he wants
kill.
to snipe him. Support
all combat.
You can do it, Mithy.
Comes in, there's the Inspire,
No,
but Vander, he's away.
The minion wave as well. Vander gets to run away. For now, Zven.
Jankos in this duel, but this is a 2 versus 1. Repel comes up, but he's got nowhere to go, and Expect will take him out. Equilibrium strike.
So finally, G2 gets a messy fight where it's very split up. Rest of H2K invested so much to try and finish the game. One Nexus turret still alive. Baron is up. G2 is starting it. 3 Infernal Drakes, guys. They have so much extra damage. The jungler is coming though with the smite. Right now, Ryu is here, and that's a good ult.
Man, look how low G2 are. Expect is kind of locked in the Baron right now. He's going to get the shield from Mithy. That was a little close. Now they'll back away, but H2K have control over the area now.
And it was a G2 lineup knowing, okay, we're behind. Our composition can't really do that well in these team fights where H2K can always see us and we can't really flank them. So we need to do something crazy. That was obviously trying to get the kills and then a Baron after. Sadly for them, took too much damage, and also the last turret went down to the super minions. This game just exploded.
It really did, and quite literally an open mid now for G2. Nothing defending it anymore. And H2K, the Baron has spawned. The next Dragon will be Mountain as well. But those triple Infernals, needs to see if G2 can use all that extra damage they have.
Yeah, we sadly didn't get to see a replay of that Dragon fight. Zven died with flash and everything ready. Odoamne just went straight for him and killed him, meaning G2 could never fight. It was just over too quick. Great engages so far in this game from Odoamne. We've seen a few missed ultis here and there, but also seen some very good ones.
Yeah. H2K, they're dancing around the Baron area right now, just trying to pull G2 out and get them into a negative situation. PerkZ is, again, split pushing off to the side, does not have the TP right now.
No, and it's so hard at this point in the game to set up 1-3-1 because you have already lost so much on the map. You have no control in mid lane. That means you can never push your side lanes.
Yeah, especially without TP.
Yeah, exactly. Like, all lanes work together. If 2 of them are being pushed back, well, then your third guy, he can't push. I know he's trying. I know he's playing Tryndamere. He wants to be the guy to win the game for it, but it doesn't work. So G2 now have to basically try and outplay in a fight. Have to try and maybe catch one member from H2K out, but it's super difficult because H2K will never try like 1v1ing anyone. They want to win as 5, but triple Infernal gives you so much extra damage. 31 minutes in and they're starting Baron.
Yeah, G2 are moving on to the Baron. There's a Tempered Fate, lands onto PerkZ once again. Can he get out here? Does have the Playful Trickster, but he's instantly locked up by Bard, and there's no way he's going to get out of this one. So many resources used on top of him. Odoamne over the wall. Probably misclick onto the portal there.
Vander this game, we said, if you're a great Bard, he's fantastic. If you have a bad day or you're maybe not the strongest Bard player, he's going to be bad. Vander's played extremely well. So many good ultis. Definitely my player of the game.
I concur.
100% kill participation as well.
I like how you paused for the maths there.
Yeah, I was like, 9 + 1, I'm pretty sure.
10. Got it. But H2K, with that 1 kill, 20 seconds left on PerkZ, they're rushing down mid lane. There's no Nexus turret. Expect goes in for the engage, but there's an instant exhaust out onto him. Mithy will try and put some damage down, but he doesn't have a lot. Zven is going to get cornered out. Trick as well comes in. Everyone from H2K is very low, and they are getting danced around by Mithy and Trick. They jump into the fight, but it instantly detonated. PerkZ will respawn, but now the Nexus has been opened up. This is PerkZ. Time to shine. Can he make it happen? Locked up by Bard and taken out before he gets out of the CC chain. That is going to be the game. 33 minutes in, H2K, take it away.
Very slow start. Focus on macro, lane control, setting up for dragons, split push versus team fighting. Fizz was in such a tough spot because he had to be the guy going to the side lane all the time and just trying to push out like 1 or 2 waves. Then he had to leave to always roam 2 levels down. And then G2 had to make a decision. Do we fight for this 3rd dragon? Do we try and trade it for towers? I think both calls made sense. But then Vander with the ulti catches 2 members of G2, wins that fight instantly, takes the Baron at 22 minutes, and then your split pushing comp is done. It's dead. Because you now literally lost the map from that one play from H2K. And then you gotta go back always being like, okay, should G2 have flashed out that bot ulti? Because I'm pretty sure if people go back and rewatch, there were flashes ready for the members who got caught. You could have flashed out trying to disengage. That's always hindsight. In the moment, they're clearly calling. Take mid tower, rotate top with PerkZ, take top tower, trade it for the dragon. Even though they had actually a situation where the AD carry was so much stronger. Like Fizz was useless at that point. But then he picked up a few kills.
Which obviously helped. I hope you guys can also hear the music that I can right now, because that was the most epic monologue I've ever heard in my life, as Deficio just talking away, and I got the victory music coming out. Fantastic. But no, it was really just all around that play that we saw around, like, what, the 20-minute mark. We didn't have a lot going on. We had actually no kills. And then it was just a push in mid lane, a push in top lane. And of course, they got punished by Vander. So well played with the reaction play from H2K, but it felt like the onus, of course, was on G2 to try and make something happen. They didn't pull the trigger on the dragon. Then they were pushing in these lanes. They were trying to have their cake and eat it too, right? But then H2K, they just need to scale into the late game. So yeah, big problems there. Either way, we're going to send it over to the analyst desk to take a look at the game and get their opinion.